in the Communist Manifesto, and maybe we should work on the other 9. One of them is completely free and good education for everyone and through the state. Another is centralization of the means of communication, which would include, of course, media. There are dangers in a lot of that. And I think we see some of those emerging in a country like Venezuela. But actually, it's interesting right now, centralization has gone very far. But one of the things that I think we have to recognize is that one of the major means of centralized control these days is through decentralization. And that is a political kind of problem. So I think that there's a lot of weakness in the capitalist system right now. There are a lot of tensions, a lot of contradictions. And I think that actually the case that you mentioned, which is kind of interesting, is that people are educable. I mean, you can educate people. And I think one of the things you're showing here is that if you're prepared to dialogue and discuss, people at some point are going to come along with you. And you have to be prepared also to go along with them to some degree. And I think the tension you're having with the group is a productive one, because it does indeed create a clash of values, some of which are traditional and some of which are actually maybe progressive in some sense too. So I think that we are in a situation where we can sometimes look at a situation and say, oh, everybody is so kind of caught up in what they're doing that they're not going to be able to change anything. But on the other hand, one of the interesting things about the United States is I would never have dreamed 3 years ago in the United States that we will be where we are now politically in the United States, which is not in a revolutionary mode, but it is really moving in a very rapidly in another direction. And it is not impossible for that sort of thing to happen. And I don't think that we can, you can be cynical about, and frankly, our generation made a lot of mistakes in the 1970s, and we have to acknowledge those mistakes, and we really need to be able to say to a younger generation, don't make the same stupid mistakes we made. And one of the stupid mistakes was to be a dogmatic Marxist. Really, it is horrible. Marx was not a dogmatist. Marx was a very fluid thinker. And one of the great things about capitalism is it's incredibly fluid and dynamic. And we, if we want to oppose it, also have to be able to be dynamic, fluid in our thinking. And I think that this means, at a pragmatic level, if you want to put it that, doing the kinds of things you're doing, educating at that kind of level, but also yourself being educated, and opening up new possibilities. And there are a lot of new possibilities around right now. So I don't share your pessimism or your cynicism. Well, no, you are a little cynical about, these social movements, and yes, and yeah, okay, somebody like Obama is a conservative politician. He's going to be very conservative. But he's opened up a way of thinking with a youth movement which is beginning to move and starting to say things. And, it's quite remarkable, the reaction which you get in the United States right now to being much more Marxist and much more political.
But Marx had a clear idea when he was talking about the revolutionary subject, that was working class. And somehow this revolutionary subject disappeared.
No, it didn't disappear. It's all in China. It's not in your backyard anymore. It's in China. That's the problem. And I think what the working class is going to do in China, and I wish some of my Chinese colleagues would tell me, what is happening to a lot of the social stuff going on in China, because there's a lot of unrest, as I understand it, in China. It's a very unstable situation in lots of ways. I really think it's there's still a tremendous power in the central state apparatus. So I don't think the working class has disappeared at all. At all, not at all.
Not the working class, not the workers disappeared, but the working class disappeared as a social organized class.
Yeah, but actually it wasn't socially organized in 1848 either. That was always one of the big myths. And it's never been that clear. I mean, that's again, that's part of the Marxist dogmatism about the agent of history is the proletariat. Well, you know, the proletariat movements have been very confused and very diverse all through this history anyway. So I don't agree with that historical mythology.
But here stands the governor.
Yeah.
And he has to decide about a project.
Yes.
And he has to arrange, for example, that such a technical solution like a river bypass, with all these beautiful images and so on, develop in a way to avoid that it contributes to segregation. What can be answered?
Well, there's clear limits to what you can do. The sorting that goes on through land prices and the land market and the housing and the property market is a very serious problem. And unless you can get some way to go after that, through taxation measures or expropriation measures or something of that kind, you are not going to be able to do many of the things you would want to do. And it's as simple as that. And I think that anybody in any position has certain limits in terms of what they can do. I mean, even I, as a university professor, am not totally free to do anything I like. I am obliged to do certain things like give grades, which I hate. And I don't believe in grading people. I think it's the most reactionary idea it could possibly be, but I have to do it. And so I think the point here is that none of us in any of our situations are able to sort of completely be outside of it. We are inside of this system, and we have to work from where we are, struggle as best we can to try to advance things here, bring my greater consciousness there.
Wait. Because there is a misunderstanding. I'm not saying, absolutely I'm not saying the contrary. What I'm saying is that we have to live with our contradictions, and he is living in his contradictions. But we have to live with our contradictions and never rest. We have to be creative. I mean, the problem that we saw don't need other things than a creativity to find a different solution on a different ground. I mean, we have to reverse the problem. We have to think that the promoters and want to be there because your project is increasing the value of land. Can be displaced. We have to offer a different image of the city, a different project for the city. Never rest to be creative. And that, I think, there is our responsibility in creativity, not only in
I think it's something similar as always. Sorry. No, because we were talking about history and Marx and so on. And well, what Marx and Engels said about the solution of the question of having the housing was not very fantastic. It just not exist. So, but at the same time, meanwhile, other people, socialist people, so more or less utopian, were working with the capital. So, with the capital, I mean with Osman. So, and did fantastic things. So I think when we arrive at this point, and we have this experience like we have right now, I think it depends on the project. I mean, if you are doing the Paris of Haussmann, well, it would be a nice project. If you are,